The tables have finally turned, and the tension in the automotive world has risen. I know many of you weren't expecting this, but for the record, Porsche is walking away from Bugatti Rimac entirely. Bugatti is no longer a Volkswagen Group brand. Right when Bugatti was trying to contain the Matt Armstrong situation, everything just got worse, because Porsche is walking away. And for the first time in decades, Bugatti is completely on its own. Think about what that actually means. This isn't just a corporate restructuring announcement buried in a press release. This is the foundation cracking. Because for over 20 years, every time someone questioned Bugatti, every time someone said, are these cars really worth it? The answer was always the same. Volkswagen. The engineering giant standing behind every bolt, every carbon panel, every $5 million price tag. That connection is fading. And what's left when it's gone? If you've been following this channel, you know we've been covering the Matt Armstrong situation closely. And if you haven't, stay right here. Because what's happening right now is bigger than one rebuild. This is an industry moment. Drop a comment below if you already knew Porsche was exiting Bugatti Rimac. I want to know how many of you saw this coming. Because here's where it starts to get dangerous for Bugatti. It's downhill from now on, not because Bugatti makes bad cars, but because the entire argument for buying one just lost its backbone. If Bugatti no longer has Volkswagen behind it, what happens to the technology? What happens to the reliability? What happens to the pricing they've been defending this whole time? These aren't rhetorical questions. They're the exact questions buyers with real money are starting to ask right now. And this is where Matt Armstrong walks back into the frame. Matt Armstrong didn't just rebuild a Bugatti Chiron Persport. He didn't just fix a gearbox. He exposed something. Because when you watch what he's doing, when you see the parts he's sourcing, the suppliers he's finding, the repairs being done outside of an official Bugatti service center, you start to realize something uncomfortable. The parts aren't as unique as Bugatti claimed. The repairs aren't as impossible as Bugatti claimed. And the wall they built around their cars to justify the price? Matt Armstrong is walking straight through it. But that's where it gets worse. Because now people are asking a completely different question. Not can Matt rebuild this car? The question now is, if Bugatti isn't backed by Volkswagen anymore, what exactly are you paying millions for? Is it the engineering? Because Matt just showed the world that the engineering isn't untouchable. Is it the exclusivity? Because if independent builders can source and repair these components, that exclusivity just took a serious hit. Is it the brand? Because the brand is the one thing that's bleeding out right now in real time. And I need you to understand something. Matt Armstrong owns them now. Not legally, not financially, but narratively, he owns them. Because whether Bugatti likes it or not, Matt Armstrong now controls the story. He's the one showing the world what these cars are actually made of. He's the one with the camera inside the gearbox, inside the monocoque, inside the parts that Bugatti said couldn't be touched. And now, there's no Volkswagen shield to hide behind. Every crack in the narrative is visible. Every inconsistency is on camera. And the audience watching it? Millions of people. Here's the twist that no one is talking about. Now we can say, for the first time, that a Bugatti isn't a Volkswagen. For decades, what happens when you buy a Bugatti Veyron and still need permission to fix it? That's exactly what Volkswagen Group resources. They didn't advertise it. They didn't put it on the brochure, but it was there. It was the silent guarantee behind the mythology. And now, for the first time, they're being forced to stand completely alone. And that is not necessarily a good thing, because standing alone means every failure is yours, every controversy is yours, every cracked narrative, yours. So let's talk about the three things crushing Bugatti right now simultaneously, because this isn't one problem. This is three problems stacked on top of each other hitting at the same moment. First, reputation pressure. The rebuild drama didn't just embarrass Bugatti, it changed the conversation permanently. The internet doesn't forget. Every time someone searches Bugatti Chiron reliability or Bugatti parts from this point forward, Matt Armstrong's rebuild is part of that result. Bugatti's brand was built on the idea of untouchable perfection. That idea has a crack in it now, and cracks spread. Second, technical pressure. The loss of Volkswagen's shared ecosystem is not a small thing. Porsche, Audi, Lamborghini, they all exist inside a web of shared technology, shared RD, shared engineering DNA. Bugatti existed inside that web too, and now they don't, which means future development, future platforms, future powertrains, all of that now costs more, takes longer, and carries more risk. For a company selling cars at $5 million and above, the margin for technical failure is essentially zero, but the resources just got smaller. Third, legal pressure. This one is the quietest but maybe the most dangerous long-term. When Bugatti tries to restrict independent repairs, when they try to control parts access, when they try to argue that their cars can only be serviced by them, that argument just got significantly harder to make. Because the Volkswagen Group had infrastructure, legal resources, and corporate weight behind those restrictions. Bugatti Rimac is a different animal, smaller, more exposed, and in a world where right-to-repair conversations are getting louder by the day, a standalone Bugatti fighting independent builders is a much harder fight to win. And this couldn't have happened at a worse time. Because while Bugatti is trying to protect its image, trying to manage the PR damage, trying to figure out what they even are without Volkswagen, the entire internet is watching Matt Armstrong take their cars apart piece by piece, on camera, with full transparency, showing every part number, sourcing everything they said couldn't be sourced, fixing everything they said couldn't be fixed. And the comments sections, the forums, the automotive communities, they're not asking whether Matt can finish the build anymore. They're asking what Bugatti is actually going to do about it. And the answer right now appears to be, not much. If this story is hitting different now than it was 2 minutes ago, that's exactly the point. Because this isn't just a YouTube rebuild drama. This is a case study in what happens when a luxury brand loses control of its own narrative. And if you want to understand what happens next, stay with me until the end. Because the last piece of this is the one Bugatti absolutely does not want to become public conversation. Here's what this ultimately comes down to. Bugatti built its entire identity on being beyond reach, beyond repair, beyond question. The price was justified because the engineering was exclusive. The exclusivity was protected because the resources were enormous. And the resources were enormous because Volkswagen was the silent giant in the room. Remove the giant, and the room gets a lot smaller. And in a smaller room, the scrutiny gets a lot louder. And here's the part that nobody in the automotive press wants to say out loud. Bugatti's pricing was never just about the car. It was about the system behind the car. So what does Bugatti actually have left? They have the name, they have the legacy, they have the Chiron, the Veyron, the decades of headlines. But legacy doesn't pay engineers. Legacy doesn't fund next-generation powertrains. And legacy absolutely does not stop a guy in his garage from showing the world that your parts can be sourced, your repairs can be done, and your mystique can be dismantled one bolt at a time. Matt Armstrong didn't destroy Bugatti. Let's be clear about that. But he did something almost more powerful. He made Bugatti look answerable. And for a brand that has never had to answer to anyone, that might be the most dangerous thing that's ever happened to them. So the real question isn't just whether Matt can rebuild a Bugatti, it's whether Bugatti can survive being exposed without Volkswagen behind them, without the shield, without the infrastructure, without the silence they used to be able to buy, because that era is over. And what comes next for Bugatti, nobody actually knows. And when that happens, this channel is going to be the first place covering it. So if you're not subscribed yet, do it right now. Hit that bell so you don't miss what's coming. And if you think Bugatti is going to survive this, or if you think this is just the beginning of the end, drop it in the comments. I read every single one. See you in the next one.